The constitutional law presented by Group 4, B.S. Grant, Section Delta. Assigned chapters. Chapter number 16 on non-imprisonment for debt. Chapter 17 on involuntary servitude. Chapter 18 on writs of habeas corpus, amparo and habeas data. Chapter 19 on speedy disposition of the cases. The topics assigned: non-imprisonment for debt, Serafin versus Landayag, AM number 297MJ, September 30, 1975, crime, Lozano versus Martinez, GR number L63419, December 18, 1986, Paul Tax, involuntary servitude, definition, exemptions, Robertson v. Baldwin 165 U.S. 275, kaisahan ng manggagawa sa kahoy na Pilipinas versus Gatamco Samuels, GR number L1573, March 29, 1948. Topics: writ of habeas corpus when available, procedure, grounds for suspension, rule on writ of amparo, who may file, where to file, contents of the petition, contents of the return, interim reliefs, rule on a writ of habeas data, purpose, who may file, where returnable and enforceable, contents of the petition, contents of the return, speedy disposition of cases.
Non-imprisonment for debt. Imprisonment for debt provisions is a fundamental human right enshrined in many constitutions around the world, including the Philippine Constitution. It prohibits the imprisonment of individuals solely for failing to pay their debts. This principle recognizes that financial hardship should not lead to imprisonment and aims to protect vulnerable individuals from being exploited by creditors. The concept of non-imprisonment for debt evolved gradually during the 19th century in the United States as a response to the inhumane practice of imprisoning debtors who couldn't pay their obligations. Debt is a financial obligation that one party, the debtor, owes to another party, the creditor. It represents a sum of money borrowed or otherwise withheld from the creditor, which must be repaid typically with added interest. Debt can be owed by individuals, businesses, governments, or even countries. Types of debts: consumer debt, mortgages, secured loans used to finance the purchase of real estate such as a house or condo. Auto loans, secured loans used to purchase vehicles with the vehicle serving a collateral. Credit card debt, unsecured debt that allows individuals to borrow money up to the certain limit, typically with high interest rates. Student loans, loans taken out to finance education, which can be either federal or private. Personal loans, unsecured loans that can be used for various purposes such as debt consolidation or home improvement. Second type of debt is business debt. Terms loans, fixed amount loans with a specific repayment schedule. Banks debt, securities issued by companies to raise capital from investors. Commercial paper, short-term debt with a maturity of less than 270 days. The last type of debt is government debt. National debt, the total amount of money owed by a country to its creditors. Municipal debt, debt issued by local governments to finance projects. The case of Serafin versus Landayag, AM number 297MJ, September 30, 1975. The case of Serafin versus Landayag is involved a complaint filed by Evelina Serafin against Municipal Judge Santiago Landayag for admitting a criminal complaint for estafa and issuing a warrant of arrest against her. Despite the lack of evidence supporting the charge, the case stemmed from a complaint filed by Carmelito Mendoza and his wife Corazon against Serafin for failing to pay a debt of 1,500 pesos. The complaint filed by the chief of police at the behest of the Mendozas alleged that Serafin had borrowed the money and failed to repay it despite promises to do so. However, the complaint itself did not establish any elements of estafa, a crime involving deceit or fraud. The supporting statements and notes from the preliminary examination conducted by Judge Lindayag also revealed that the case involved a simple debt and not a criminal offense. Despite his, Judge Lindayag admitted the complaint and issued a warrant of arrest against Serafin. This led Serafin to file an administrative complaint against him, alleging that he acted capriciously and maliciously. The Supreme Court, after receiving the evidence, found Judge Lindaya guilty of the charges against him and dismissed him from office. The court highlighted several key points. Judge Lindayag's actions were a betrayal of his oath of office. He failed to properly examine the evidence and disregarded the fundamental principle of non-imprisonment for debt. He submitted spurious evidence to cover up his actions. Judge Lindayag presented an amended complaints and notes of preliminary examination that were later found to be fabricated. A judge who disregards or is ignorant of the law is unfit to continue in office. The Supreme Court emphasized that a judge must uphold the law and ensure justice, and Judge Lindayag's actions demonstrated a gross disregard for these principles.
Crime. In Section 1.2 on crime focus in the case of Lozano v. Martinez, this case highlights important legal process regarding the requirements of establishing a crime, specifically necessity of providing both act and intent behind it, actus reus and mens rea. Ruling underscores importance of clear and convincing evidence for conviction, reinforcing fundamental standards in criminal law. Lozano v. Martinez, December 18, 1986. In Lozano v. Martinez, the Supreme Court of the Philippines addresses key principles of criminal law, specifically the necessity of establishing both actus reus and intent mens rea to rescue a conviction. The case emphasized that evidence must be clear and convincing, ensuring that individuals are only convicted when prosecution meets a burden of proof. This ruling reinforced fundamental protection in the legal process, highlighting the importance of due process in criminal cases. Poll tax. 1.3 Poll tax. A poll tax is fixed tax levied in individuals, often used historically as prerequisite for voting. In many contexts has been criticized for disproportionately impacting lower-income individuals, minority groups, leading debates about its fairness. Legitimately, in some jurisdictions, poll tax have been abolished due to their discriminatory nature and violation of principles.
Good evening, everyone, especially to Server Hill. Good evening, sir. My name is Mark DJ Pataytay, and my topic is all about Robertson v. Baldwin 165 US 275, and I will discuss the involuntary servitude definition and exceptions. Involuntary servitude. The case of Robertson v. Baldwin 165 US 275, 1897 addressed the constitutionality of federal laws regulating the conduct of seamen, specifically in relation to the 13th Amendment's prohibition against involuntary servitude. The case arose from the arrest and detention of 4 seamen who deserted their ship, the American barkentine Arago in Astoria, Oregon. The seamen argued that the laws under which they were apprehended and detained were unconstitutional, claiming they violated the 13th Amendment by compelling involuntary servitude. Definition. Robertson v. Baldwin 165 US 275 1897 was a landmark case decided by the U.S. Supreme Court that addressed the constitutionality of federal laws regulating the conduct of seamen, specifically in relation to the 13th Amendment's prohibition against involuntary servitude. The case involved four seamen who deserted their ship, the American Barkentine Arago, in Astoria, Oregon. They were apprehended and detained under federal laws that allowed for the arrest and return of deserting seamen to their vessels. The seamen argued that their laws violated the 13th Amendment by compelling involuntary servitude, as they were being forced back into the ship against their will. The Supreme Court, however, rejected this argument and upheld the constitutionality of the federal laws. The court reasoned that the contract of a sailor has always been treated as an exceptional one involving, to a certain extent, the surrender of a personal liberty during the life of the contract. The court emphasized that the provision against involuntary servitude was never intended to apply to such contracts. Exceptions: will the Robertson v. Baldwin decision establish a precedent for the special legal consideration surrounding seamen's contracts? It's important to note that there are no explicitly stated exceptions to its core principle within the case itself. However, subsequent legal developments and interpretation have introduced nuances and potential limitations to the broad application of the Robertson v. Baldwin ruling. Here are some key areas where exceptions or limitations to the Robertson v. Baldwin precedent might be considered. Number 1. Changing nature of a maritime labor. The Robertson v. Baldwin decision was based on the traditional understanding of seamen's contracts as involving a temporary surrender of a personal liberty during a voyage. However, the modern maritime industry has undergone significant transformation with more permanent employment contracts and increased regulation of working conditions. These changes could lead to argument that the exceptional nature of seamen's contracts as recognized in Robertson v. Baldwin may no longer apply in all cases. The International Labour Organization has adopted conventions addressing the rights of seafarers, including the rights to fair treatment, decent working conditions, and freedom of association. These international standards could be used to challenge the application of Robertson v. Baldwin in cases where they conflict with the ILO conventions. Number 2. Human rights considerations. The Robertson v. Baldwin decision predates the widespread recognition of human rights principles. Modern human rights law emphasizes the fundamental rights of all individuals, including the rights to freedom from forced labor and the right to fair treatment. These principles could be invoked to challenge the application of Robertson v. Baldwin in cases where they result in the violation of human rights. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea also addresses the rights of seafarers and emphasizes the need for their protection. UNCLOS could be used to argue for exceptions to Robertson v. Baldwin in cases where it conflicts with the Convention's provisions. Number 3. Specific circumstances and context. The Robertson v. Baldwin decision was based on the specific facts of the case involving seamen who deserted their ship. Subsequent cases may involve different circumstances, such as cases of coercion, abuse, or exploitation, which could lead to different legal outcomes. The specific nature of the contract, the working conditions, and the context of the alleged violation of rights could all be considered in determining whether the Robertson v. Baldwin precedent applies. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Meros Patindol and today I'll be discussing a labor case between the kaisahan ng mga manggagawa sa kahoy sa Pilipinas versus Gotamco Sawmill. This case was decided by the Supreme Court in 1948. It's about a labor dispute involving a strike, wage demands, and some legal questions about workers' rights and public interest. This case started when workers at Gotamco Sawmill went on strike on September 10, 1946, demanding higher wages and better working conditions. The dispute was brought before the Court of Industrial Relations, or the CIR, which helped negotiate a temporary solution. The agreement included, first, a 2 pesos daily wage increase without meals. Second is workers could take home small pieces of lumber for firewood. And last is the strike would end and workers would return to their jobs on September 24, 1946. This case raises up 3 main issues. First, did the union violate the court's order by striking again during the settlement process? Second, did Gotamco break the law by hiring Chinese laborers during the dispute without court approval? Last one is Section 19 of Commonwealth Act number 103 or 103 unconstitutional, since it seemed to force workers back to work, which could be seen as involuntary servitude. The Supreme Court answered these issues. Number 1. The union was found in contempt for violating the court's order to avoid striking again during the negotiations. Second, the court said there was insufficient evidence to prove that Gotamco had unlawfully hired Chinese workers. And the last one is the court ruled that Section 19 is constitutional, meaning it does not violate workers' rights and it does not constitute involuntary servitude. The regulation was seen as necessary to protect public interest by preventing disruptive strike while disputes were still unresolved. The Supreme Court sided with the Court of Industrial Relations. The union's second strike was unlawful. The agreement that had been reached earlier was valid and enforceable. Section 19 of the law, which restricts strikes during certain stages of disputes, was found constitutional. In the end, the union had to pay the cost of the case. This case is important because it created a precedent for labor dispute in the Philippines. It reaffirmed that workers have the right to strike, but within limits, especially when public interest is involved. The ruling clarified that laws like Section 19 are constitutional because they help protect the economy and public welfare from disruptions. Good day everyone, I am Meros Patindol from Section Delta, and today I'll be talking about the writ of habeas corpus, a vital legal tool that protects individual rights. Let's dive into its importance and when it is available. The writ of habeas corpus is a legal action that allows a person to seek relief from unlawful detention. Its name comes from Latin, meaning you shall have the body. Essentially, it's a way to challenge illegal imprisonment. The origins of the writ of habeas corpus can be traced back to English law. It plays a crucial role in protecting individual liberty against arbitrary detention. Notable milestones include the Magna Carta in 1215 and the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679, which established the importance of this legal remedy. This writ is significant because it protects individuals from unlawful imprisonment. It upholds the rule of law, ensuring that everyone has the right to a fair trial. It acts as a check on the power of the state. In the Philippines, the right to habeas corpus is enshrined in the 1987 Constitution. Article 3, Section 18 guarantees this right, emphasizing its importance in our legal framework. The writ is generally available whenever a person is detained. However, there are exceptions. It may not be available during times of rebellion or invasion when public safety is at risk. This means that in extraordinary circumstances, the right can be suspended. To file for a writ of habeas corpus, the detained individual or someone acting on their behalf can submit a petition to the appropriate court. This petition must outline the grounds for seeking relief from detention. It's a formal process that ensures the right to the detained are considered. In conclusion, the writ of habeas corpus is a fundamental legal tool that protects our rights as individuals. Its availability is essential for ensuring justice and preventing the abuse of power.
Discussed about my topic in our group. Number 1. Rule on the writ of amparo. The rule on the writ of amparo adopted by the Supreme Court of the Philippines in 2007 provides a legal remedy for individuals whose right to life, liberty and security is violated or threatened by unlawful acts or omissions. It specifically covers extralegal killings and enforced disappearance or threats thereof. Key provision of the rule. Petition. The petition for a writ of amparo can be filed by the aggrieved party or by any qualified person or entity in a specific order of priority, immediate family members, other relatives, or concerned citizens, organizations, associations, or institutions.
My next topic is ground for suspension. In the Philippines, the term ground for suspension refers to the legal reasons or justifications that allows for the temporary removal of an individual from their positions or privilege. Federal Employee Health Benefits Program. Indictment or conviction for criminal offense. This includes offense that pose a risk to the health and safety of covered individuals. Other credible evidence of misconduct. This could include civil judgment, debarment by other agencies, or finding by federal, states, or local bodies. My next topic is purpose. Isagani Cruz constitutional law delves into the fundamental principles and doctrines of Philippine constitutional law. Balancing authority and liberty. The book emphasized the crucial task of maintaining a delicate equilibrium between the authority of the state, represented by the three inherent powers: police power, power eminent domain, and power of taxation, and the liberties guaranteed by the Bills of Rights. My next topic is procedures. The provide search results offer the glimpse into the structures and contents of Isagani Cruz book. on constitutional law, but they don't explicitly outline the specific procedures discussed within the book. However, based on the information available, we can infer the general procedures covered in the book's overall approach. Introduction. The book likely begins with an introduction that benefits constitutional law, its purpose, and its role in balancing authority and liberty. Inherent powers of the state. It likely delves into the three inherent powers of the state: police power of eminent domain and power of taxation. Bill of Rights. The book likely devotes a significant por- portion to examining the Bill of Rights, including provision on due process, equal protection, freedom of expression, and protections for the accused.
Who may file, where to file, and content of the petition. This presentation will discuss the rules on who can file a petition, where to file it, and what information should be included. These rules are important for anyone who wants to exercise their constitutional rights. Who can file? Not everyone can file a petition. You need to be directly affected by the problem and have a good reason to ask for help. This means you need to show that you have a personal interest in the case, that you have been harmed, and that the court can help fix the problem. Where to file? You need to file your petition in the right court. This depends on where you live and the type of the problem you're facing. Some courts are better suited to handle certain types of cases. What to include in your petition: your name, who is filing the petition, the problem, what is the problem you're facing, the reason, why should the court help you, what you want, what do you want the court to do, and the proof, any evidence or document that supports your claim. By following these guidelines, you can increase your chances of a successful petition.
Hi, I'm Rene Peter B. Soto, and today I'm going to talk about the rule on the writ of habeas data. The role on the writ of habeas data, a legal remedy called it the writ of habeas data, is intended to safeguard a person's right to privacy, especially with regard to management of personal data. It has been adopted in several nations to remedy privacy violations and is most frequently utilized in cases with civil law traditions. Contents of the return. The respondent shall file a verified written return together with supporting affidavits within 5 working days from service of the writ, which period may be reasonably extended by the court for justifiable reasons. The return shall, among other things, contain the following. A. The lawful defenses such as national security, state secrets, privileged communication, confidentiality of the source of information of media, and others. V. In case of respondent in charge, in possession, or in control of the data or information subject of the petition. First, a disclosure of the data or information about the petitioner, the nature of such data or information, and the purpose for its collection. Second, the steps or action taken by the respondent to ensure the security and confidentiality of the data or information. And the third one, the currency and accuracy of the data or information held. And C. Other allegation relevant to the resolution of the proceeding. A general denial of the allegation in the petition shall not be allowed. Interim relief. Interim relief refers to the temporary relief or remedy were granted by a court or tribunal during the course of a legal proceeding. Before a final decision is made, it is designed to protect the rights or interests of one of the parties involved in the litigation until the case is fully resolved. Interim reliefs are typically requested when a party believes they may suffer irreparable harm or damage if immediate action is not taken. Examples of interim relief include injunctions. Injunctions order to temporarily stop a party from doing something, like, for example, preventing someone from stealing property. Second one is temporary restraining orders, or TRO, a short-term measure to prevent harm until a fuller hearing can take place. The third one is stay orders, pausing the execution of a lower court's order or judgment until the appeal is decided. These reliefs ensure that the subject matter of the dispute is preserved and the parties' rights are protected during the ongoing legal process.
So hi everyone, my name is Dave Sumayang. Ang ako din topic ay purpose who may file were returnable and enforceable.
Purpose of a petition for speedy disposition of cases to ensure a timely resolution of legal proceedings. The right of speedy disposition enshrined in the Philippine Constitution to prevent due delays that can harm individuals involved in legal cases. To protect individuals from judice case by delays. These delays can include impressive pre-trial, incarceration, anxiety, impairment of defense, and financial hardship. Who may file a petition? Any party involved in a legal case. These include individuals, corporation, or organization involved in civil, criminal, or administrative proceedings, where a petition is returnable and enforceable. The court of tribunal handling the original case. This where the petition is failed and where the court will consider the arguments and evidence presented by both parties.
Good evening, Attorney Virgil B. Vallecera. I am Nasife Chiso Sola from BS Scrum Section Delta. My topic: contents of the petition, contents of the return, and speedy disposition of the cases. Contents of the petition. This is a formal request filed by a party who believes their right to speedy disposition has been violated. The petition outlines the specific delays experienced, the reasons for considering them unreasonable, and the prejudice suffered as a result. Contents of the return. This is the response filed by the opposing party or the relevant government agency addressing the allegations raised in the petition. The return may argue that the delays were justified, that the petitioner did not timely assert the right, or that no significant prejudice occurred. Speedy disposition of cases. Isagani Cruz's book likely discuss the right to a speedy resolution of legal cases in the Philippines. This right is guaranteed by the Philippine Constitution and aims to prevent unfair delays that can harm people involved in legal proceedings. Number 1. Constitutional guarantee. The Philippine Constitution states that everyone has the right to a speedy resolution of their case in all courts and government bodies. The book explains why this right is important: to protect individuals from prolonged legal battles that can cause financial hardship, emotional stress, and unfair disadvantages. Number 2. Balancing test. The length of the delay. Cases that are delayed for a long time are more likely to be considered a violation of the right to speedy disposition. The reason for the delays caused by complex legal issues, or the need to gather evidence, are less likely to be considered violations. Did the person affected by the delay complain about it promptly? If they didn't, they might have lost their right to a speedy resolution.
what harm did the person suffer of the delay. This could include being unfairly held in the jail, experiencing anxiety, or being unable to defend themselves effectively. Number 3. Case law examples. The book likely provides examples of real cases to show how courts have applied the right to speedy disposition. In one case, a contractor was accused of overcharging for street lighting projects. The court found that the investigation took a long time, but the complexity of the case and the amount of evidence justified the delay. In another case, several people were accused of crimes. The court found that the 4-year delay in the investigation was unreasonable and violated the right to speedy disposition. Number 4. Petition and return. The book likely explains how someone can file a petition to the court to request a faster resolution of their case. The petition would explain the delays, why they are considered unreasonable, and the harm caused. The opposing party of government agency would then file a response, arguing that the delays were justified or that the person filing the petition didn't raise the issue promptly. In short, Isagani Cruz's book likely provides a detailed explanation of the right to speedy disposition of cases in the Philippines, including its constitutional basis, how courts apply it, and the procedures for filing a petition.